everyone. Welcome to Hot Takes and Deep Dives. I'm Jess, and as promised, I am here with Kyle Cooke from Summer House. Frankly, everyone's favorite non-housewives show on Bravo. How are you, Kyle?
Hello. I'm great.
You're great. So where are you right now?
I am in a financial district. So Amanda and I have continued to weather it out here in Manhattan.
Yeah, same.
Taking quarantine pretty seriously. So in the event we want to escape to New Jersey, where her parents are also, pretty much self-isolating, we can just up and leave if we wanted to. Although, look, everyone was like prepared for doomsday, not to, put down the severity of the situation. But, fortunately, we can still get groceries delivered. We can, survive. So, yeah, Manhattan's a little bit of a ghost town, but here we are.
Yeah. We were just talking before we hopped on how you're still having to record some confessional type stuff for them for Summer House, or is it just like sound bites?
Yeah, I mean, it's not uncommon for Bravo to be doing those green screen interviews, right up into, when the season's airing, because they're taking massive amounts of footage and trying to put together the most condensed version that is the most accurate to the truth. And we can, in some situations, provide a soundbite that helps kind of like connect point A to point B. Unfortunately, like most shows that are airing right now, if they don't have enough green screen footage, they're kind of screwed.
I mean, Kyle Richards, so Beverly Hills just premiered, and Kyle Richards showed herself filming a full-on confessional video in her house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's, a lot of the housewife shows, the crew will go to their house, set up for the interviews. Us, below deck, a lot of the Southern Charm, actually all the Southern Charm, it's either one or the other, right? Like Vanderpump has like the cameras going, along the side of them, and they're actually in some studio because it's Hollywood. They can find that shit. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the non-housewife shows on like Vanderpump, there's a green screen.
Yeah.
We're just going in and giving our thoughts.
Where do you shoot the green screen confessionals?
It's just a studio here in Manhattan.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we can't. We do a lot of it during the season as it happens, right? I think that's just the element that Bravo really pioneered, right? Like, MTV had like the
Real World
booth,
yeah,
right. But the challenge there is like those confessionals aren't really focused, right? If I went into a confessional, oh my God, it'd be like me just completely rambling for like 17 pages worth.
Yeah. So did you have to send in just like a self-record like confessional?
Yeah, so like little bits and pieces of just my thoughts, more like just wrapping up the season. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
And normally it'd just be me in front of a camera.
So maybe they may wind up doing like a voiceover, something like that.
Yeah, it'll be like they'll be showing footage, and then I'll be talking over it. So. Yeah. Look, like props to this industry for adapting. You watch like what Andy's doing, watch what happens live. He's on 6 days a week from his apartment. It's just amazing how people have adapted. And thank God, because like we'd all be bored to death if we weren't entertained.
But this brings up a major question, which is what is going to happen to Summer House for next season? Because you guys typically would be going back like just before July 4th, maybe like mid June or so. What have you heard personally?
Yeah, historically we film. We missed the first 4 weeks of summer, Memorial through like mid June, and we filmed the last 11 weeks of summer. And what's kind of unique about our show versus the average housewife show, for example, where these women may or may not be actual friends, right? They're like, hey, I'll hang out for a dinner or a rendezvous to Mexico, but they're not going to be caught dead in the same house for more than 48 hours. That's our show, right? We are friends. We all go to the Hamptons. We spend time together. And now I can say publicly, Amanda has joined Loverboy full time. Mm-hmm. Actually, on that note, ready for some microphone. What's that? ARSM or something? Like that?
Yeah, ASMR.
All right, ready?
You're gonna crack one open.
Oh yeah. It's Sunday. Fuck it.
Okay, but wait, Kyle, back up. The first question, and we're going to get into Amanda joining Loverboy because I do want to hear the specifics about that. But what did
hold on. The question is, so this is the first season. Season 5 would be the very first season that no one on the cast, because Amanda was basically the last person on Bravo to actually have a real job.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not saying what I do isn't real, but she worked for an international company.
A 9 to 5.
Boss.
Yes.
With a desk, with an office, a 9 to 5. Name another person on Bravo that's done that for 4 years. It's literally crazy. There's nobody else.
Yeah.
Because real estate agents don't count.
That must have been an extremely pressurized situation for Amanda, having to film all weekend and then go to work all week.
Exactly. But we'll talk now you're going down that rabbit hole. We'll talk about that. So to answer your question, right? Get this. Summer House is probably one of the very only Bravo shows that actually could, in theory, film this summer because, God forbid, if it's still a social distancing type thing, we could all quarantine for 2 weeks, or if you already have been, like I have, and then just go into the house. And without, the only reason I mentioned Amanda's day job, now that she's joined Loverboy full time, we could all stay out there and work from home Monday through Friday for the first time ever.
But what about the crew?
They would do the same thing. Everyone would have to follow very strict guidelines. But think about this: Hollywood, New York, Atlanta, you name it. The crew does not stay in a hotel. They go back to their family every night. Mm-hmm. Our show is so unique because it's the cast and the crew out in the Hamptons. They're in a hotel. So they could, in theory, film Summer House and not be able to film almost any other show this summer. It'd be very unique. It'd be like, we'd be like Summer House on steroids because we wouldn't be able to like go out and we'd just be that much batshit crazier.
Has Bravo, have you been in touch with producers at all about are we filming or not in a month?
Yeah. Look, this has been the best season ever, not just from a rating standpoint, but I think just from the stories and everything that's going on,
Kyle, it is the best show that's on TV right now.
Aw, thank you.
Listen, it has been because New York Housewives has just come back and Beverly Hills may have a promising season. But let me just say that we've been watching weeks and weeks of Vanderpump Rules and Real Housewives of Atlanta, which have had very less than stellar seasons. And Summer House has been a bright light in that darkness.
But no, look, we've had an amazing season, but Bravo never gives you the full green light until they're fully ready. I think what I could hopefully say without getting in trouble is I think they've kind of penciled out every possible scenario, worst case and best case. Mm-hmm. And I think in each situation we could film.
Let's go over what our possibilities are to get you guys filming a season 5 this summer.
Look, disclaimer is this is my interpretation of our options. We'll start with the worst case scenario for Summer House. Full-blown social distancing. No bars and restaurants have opened, but it's summer and people are going out to the Hamptons, even if it means hanging out at their house. Okay.
So it becomes almost like a Big Brother.
It's Big Brother, but we all know each other and there's alcohol and sex and rock and roll, not drugs. Mm-hmm. If on the flip side, the best case scenario would be bars and restaurants open. Maybe they're limited capacity. Who knows? But we maybe start a little later. Maybe we don't start in late June. Maybe we start in July. Mm-hmm. I think that's a very realistic.
I like that.
Like, I don't think anybody in New York City is expecting anything to get back to normal in the month of June.
Yeah, I like July.
And then a happy medium would be same case scenario with like the timeline, but maybe bars and restaurants are open a little bit, right? So we can get out of the house every now and then. But it's not like going back to normal.
Yeah.
In either of those scenarios, they might require the cast and the crew to self-quarantine leading up to filming and then strict rules when we're out there. In fact, they might say, there's no going back to the city this year.
Right.
And so with Amanda full-time on Loverboy, she was like the last one holding out with a job. So we could, in theory, do that. So all I've been told by the producers is that they're going through all the various scenarios, and those are the scenarios in my head.
So I'm going to I love all of these, and hopefully we can get the middle ground one.
I think That'd be nice.
The one wrench, and it's certainly not a deal breaker at all. The only caveat would be you wouldn't have those fluid people like a Danielle or a Jordan, or maybe next year Jules isn't full time, but she's going to be in like 3 episodes. You wouldn't be able to have people float in and out because they would have to be quarantined.
Unless we, as a society, have adopted what has already been taking place in more social or communist societies where we know who had it. We know who's been in contact. It can easily be done with Google and Apple combining their forces. They're already doing it. There could be a temperature check at the door to a July 4th party. Like, where there's a will, there's a way.
You're giving people a lot of hope for a Summer House 2021 because people were very worried.
I know. It's crazy. I mean, I was doing an Instagram live for shits and giggles with Craig and Shep, and actually Craig and Austin, and they were just like, yeah, man, like, they filmed us kind of acknowledging coronavirus because, yeah, we only got 3 weeks of filming in and boom, pulled the plug.
Are you aware that the Summer House or the Summer House, however you want, when I interviewed Carl, we were joking about we were joking around like, is it the Summer House or the Summer House? But either way, are you aware that the house is for sale? You can find it on Zillow.
Yeah, so the Summer House has been for sale since we actually filmed season 2 there. It's not unusual for someone just to list a house in the Hamptons because it's an investment property, and they put some wishful thinking pricing behind it, and they're just waiting for someone to come along and grab it. And because it is a lofty price tag, I think they're charging like $6 million or something.
Yeah,
or at least pre-pandemic. They're prepared to rent it. And that'll essentially carry all their costs. So we've essentially done that. Like when I found the house, it was listed online. It was ugly ass furniture, and it looked totally different.
You found the house?
So yeah, I worked with the producers to. I've always just been very involved with the show because it's my little baby.
Yeah.
But I helped with the season 1 house hunt. I helped with the season 2 house hunt. And yeah, I mean, it's always been for sale, believe it or not. But the kitchen got painted white because I think that the owner got serious about trying.
At the start of this season, you guys were all reacting to the reno.
Yeah. I mean, the oak in the kitchen was butt ugly. And just like any house, whether you're on camera or not, you spend so much goddamn time in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And so that was just like, oh, thank God. Like, the old cabinets are gone. And then you look close and you're like, oh, they just painted them.
Why? I have to ask, why are there always so many Amazon packages and just packages in general? Well, let's talk specifically about Amazon and the clothing. I mean, I guess the girls are doing Rent the Runway.
It's so funny.
I guess the girls, but can't they just keep clothes in the dressers in the rooms?
Well, so it has actually very, very little to do with the women ordering clothes. It's really, if there are clothing, deliveries, is because we're having a theme party.
Oh, because you're having a theme party.
Yeah, we always hatch these ideas midweek when we're all doing 1,000 things and we're waiting up until the very last minute to place an order for a freaking mullet.
Right.
And so that's some of the deliveries. A ton of the deliveries are all things food and beverage related because on Friday, God bless her, Amanda orders all of the food for the entire weekend based on our plans, whether we're eating out, cooking, what have you. And everyone gives Amanda like credit in the kitchen. What kind of goes, over the audience's head is she spends hours every week figuring out, which meals are we in the house for? What do we got to order? And is it just us? Are we, are there any friends in the house? And so we have anywhere from $300 to $700 worth of food sitting outside every single weekend. And then, of course, like if there is a theme party, it's not only just clothing, it's all the decorations. We just order tons of shit. What can I say?
Yeah. Yeah. Carl was saying that you guys are the hardest workers of all the different shows on Bravo because you have to almost self-produce in a way because you are genuinely coming up with these ideas on a weekly basis and then actually ordering all of the food, all of the props.
Oh, yeah.
Whereas like on a Vanderpump, they would seemingly just provide all of that.
Yeah, they just show up. I love them to death, but they just show up. We're throwing the damn party. We're decorating. We're buying it online. We're trying to coordinate with different vendors. We know the better the party, the better the footage, the better the visuals.
I mean, your birthday party this year, the one where Craig and Austin came.
Yeah.
With the frat house, the Animal House, like frat house party. I mean, that was arguably one of the most fun episodes of television that's been on in the last year. Period.
The thing that breaks my heart every time I watch an episode is that there's just so much that doesn't make it because they can't. They have so much, particularly with our show, because the cameras just roll. We have all this surveillance. Mm-hmm. And so what breaks my heart is like, all the little things that could have made it, you know, like just the stupid, comical, because people were just getting after it and not giving a shit that cameras were rolling. And we also, I mean, it was perfect weather. I mean, look, the cops came.
Perfect.
Music was too loud.
Perfect.
We had an ambulance. Our director of photography broke his collarbone.
Oh my God, you're kidding me.
He slipped on the water slide.
Oh shit.
Like a chick locked herself in the closet because I think she went into like some schizophrenic, God knows what, like some friend of a friend of a friend. It was just like it was just insane. Like the producers the next day, they're like, there's never been anything like that ever filmed, ever.
You just said how it breaks your heart, all the stuff that like winds up on the cutting room floor. When you guys go out for a night, because like for example, you guys go out after dinner to Southampton Social Club or wherever you go, maybe out in Montauk for the night, the cameras generally don't come in with you into the club. So we've got to be missing a lot of stuff, like arguments
yes and, no.
and things that are happening.
Here's the thing. So, by the way, when I say breaks my heart, it's sometimes, you know, we go out of our way to organize the opportunity to film something, particularly as it relates to like our work week. And yeah, it just doesn't end up being entertaining enough, and it gets cut. You know, there's only so much you can fit in. At a party, you know, you just know that there's just so much happening because there was over 100 people there, and that party went from like 2 to 8, and it gets reduced down to like 30 minutes, right? When it comes to going out, okay, and now that I understand like the audio situation and the need to pick up what we're saying. And then there's like all sorts of copyright issues. If there's like an actual, musician or an artist playing on the speakers,
yeah,
it's a complete nightmare from a copyright standpoint. So on top of that, when you're out, that's like the peak drunkenness of the night. People are making very little sense. Mm-hmm. Like it's like the times that we do film, I feel like the producer's like, I don't know if that was worth it.
Okay.
You know, it's just like noise, bongos, dancing, drinking, shit face, drunk. No one's making any sense anymore. Why are we here?
So we're not really missing that much.
No. I mean, think about it.
That makes me feel a little better.
Think about how loud the average restaurant is in New York City, let alone the average bar or club, right? You can't hear shit. You literally can't. You're like, what? Yeah, man. And you have no idea what they said.
Yeah. How did you get discovered for this show? I mean, did you just see a casting somewhere? They wanted to do a show in the Hamptons?
One of my best buds in the early spring of 2015 jokingly sent me the email because he's at a family house out in Montauk since the 80s. And he's just like, dude, you'd be perfect for this. He's like, if anyone's going to ruin the Hamptons, it should be you. I was like, if
anyone's going to ruin the Hamptons.
What? If anyone's going to ruin the Hamptons, he's like, yeah. And I'm like, thank you. Yeah, I mean, back then it was like this pretty young, ambitious producer that was like, yeah, let's do a show in the Hamptons. Like nothing novel, but believe it or not, no one had done it. And once it kind of got in the hands of some more seasoned execs with some relationships, Bravo, it was just like, look, we need existing friends. This is not like a Real World or Jersey Shore situation where we put a bunch of strangers in a house. Like what's worked for Vanderpump, they had some existing history. They were friends, right? When I watch Housewives, I'm just like, in a normal world, they would never be hanging out.
Right.
Why am I watching this show? No offense to housewives.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it started. And one of my good friends, she knew the producer that initially hatched the idea, and she brought in the workesses, who I also knew. And so once the producers, over the course of like 6 months, figured out we knew each other, it didn't happen in time for summer 2015. But then they started recasting in the fall, and that's when I said, look, like, I've got an MBA, I've got student loans. Like, I'm not trying to like roll the dice on my career, which is how a lot of New Yorkers think. So I need more information. And then they said, look, we're just trying to basically show the work hard, play hard lifestyle of New York.
Mm-hmm.
You guys all up and leave in the summer when it's hot and you go to the Hamptons. We want to track that.
And was Montauk always your spot where you hung out?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say 90% of the time I'd been in the Hamptons, it was Montauk.
Yeah.
Like I've been going out to Montauk since, I don't know, 2004.
Kyle, it is legit my favorite place on earth.
Oh, look, it's amazing. Like, my buddy, I was just with a good buddy of mine who actually was going to originally be on the cast, and he bowed out, but he made a really funny comment today. We were like social distancing on the Hudson today. He's like, saying you don't like Montauk is saying like you don't like Dave Matthews Band. Like, bullshit. You like Dave Matthews. Everybody likes Dave. Who doesn't like Dave Matthews?
Everyone loves Crash.
Granted, we're dating ourselves.
Yeah.
But like, you know, give me a break. Everyone, it's an amazing vibe. It's laid back. It's fun. It's like literally it checks all the boxes of what you want in your summer. Now, granted, what happened with Montauk is long before we filmed, they hit peak capacity in the town. And the police, the locals, they didn't know what to do. And guess what? That's not a complete foreign phenomenon. Like, that happens in every cool destination at a given point in time, right? Like, they become so popular that the town changes. And so unfortunately the town had hit peak before we started filming, and they, from a film permit standpoint, said the same thing to us that they said to the Affair. Mm-hmm. You can't film here in the summer. We are so busy. We can't have any disturbances that cause traffic backups.
Yeah, it's technically because Montauk is technically part of the town of East Hampton. It's right. Like the town of East Hampton technically encompasses East Hampton, Amagansett, and Montauk. Yeah, Napeague. Yes. Oh, pour one out for Napeague.
A little Hamlet.
That is a deep cut, Napeague. No, it's really cute. If you guys, by the way, for listeners, if you want to have like an awesome like Montauk summer, get a place like Napeague is this tiny little slip. When you see like Lunch, which is like the infamous restaurant from the show that Kyle just mentioned on Showtime, The Affair, you know, where Allison was the waitress, where Noah and Allison meet, that technically is in this little hamlet called Napeague, which is on the way from Amagansett to Montauk. It's like this, almost like this little bridge.
Yeah, don't expect to have any cell service. Just deal with it.
Oh, honestly, there's no. Can we talk about how there's no cell service in the Hamptons? Period.
It's like there are so many rich people out here. You'd think like someone would have figured it out, but
I mean, it is really unbelievable. How do you guys deal with the no cell service?
I literally, because I'm a total nerd, I had to explain to the producers how to like use the mesh Wi-Fi network so we could all connect. Because when we're filming, there's a shit ton of people around, and no one has service, and everyone's relying on Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. But no, look, I love Montauk. I wish we could film more there, and maybe they'll warm up to it now that we're like an established show and we've proved that we are not the Jersey Shore. The reputation of Montauk is in the hands of Montauk locals. Mm-hmm. You don't want the town to go to shit. Don't rent your house to 30, 25-year-olds. It's like that was my biggest frustration of all time, season 1. People have like this knee-jerk reaction to us. This is why our town's going to shit. And I'm like, actually, it's because everybody that rented their house out for the summer knowingly broke the law by renting it to more than 4 people. Mm-hmm. So, like, next time I hear, like, a Montauk local complain, I'm just like, A, you guys are the ones who broke the renting laws, and B, your property values are now 10 times what they were 10 years ago.
When you guys go out, to Southampton Social Club, like what are your favorite spots to go out? Whether it be like after you're done filming or when we see you go out, until like 2 a.m, wherever. You guys always promo Southampton Social Club. I'm curious, like where else do you like to go out? Whether it be in Montauk or the rest of the, like, what are your favorite spots?
Look, we used to go to Montauk a lot more. Now it's like so busy and so hectic, and yeah, we can't obviously go there without just being hounded by fans. But excuse me, I'm like burping on my Loverboy.
Burping in your Loverboy.
Yeah, burping in. So the closest spot to our house that we absolutely adore is Southampton Social. It's just cool because there's a restaurant, there's a bar, there's an area with cabanas.
There's a backyard. Yeah.
And we've just over the years gotten really, really friendly with the Hampton, with the owners and the managers. So like literally right now, Carl is quarantined with the general manager of Southampton Social. So
really,
it's not that we plug them or promote them. We just love going there. We become friends with them.
Is Carl quarantined in the Hamptons right now?
Yeah. So he's literally with the general manager of Southampton Social.
Cool. That's amazing.
I was like, I'm getting out of the city.
Yeah.
Carl's in like a 6'4" walk up. His apartment is small. He just was like, he saw the writing on the wall. He got the hell out like immediately. The day the lockdown started.
What are your other favorite spots aside from, we can talk about the Sloppy Tuna, the Surf Lodge, Navy Beach in Montauk. Like where else? Where else? Like Sag Harbor is an amazing town with tons of different, like Les Bibliothèques. Like where else do you guys like to hang out? Well, like name your favorite restaurants, anything.
There's also Hotel Capri. It's been open for the last couple of years, which has like a fun little scene. In Sag, I think there's Page 75, and then there's like this bar in the back. I forget the name of it. It's like a local hangout. When we're not getting yelled at by locals that recognize us, it's a pretty fun time.
But you know what? Believe it or not, speaking of, you just mentioned Capri. This place Capri, not in Italy, guys. This little spot called Capri, which is like a little hotel. Believe it or not, they actually flew out the entire cast of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Maybe that was like 4 years ago. It was Erica Jane's first season. Lisa Vanderpump was hosting an event at the Capri, and they put the entire cast of Beverly Hills at the Hotel Capri, and they hated it. Kyle Richards like freaked out at the accommodations, and she made her husband Mauricio, who's a real estate guy, he has his own real estate agency, she made him find them like a huge house like in like Bridge or something.
I mean, it's a pretty modest, I mean, like, these are not,
but just imagine the Beverly Hills Housewives at Capri.
That's hilarious. I've only been there late, and they have a good restaurant too, but as you go east, I mean, Talk House, staple.
Stevens Talk House, amazing spot.
Hell yeah, for live music.
Infamously, where Bethany Frankel threw a cup of beer at the president. It was a Sirius XM benefit, or like a Sirius XM event, and Coldplay was playing at Stevens Talk House, and Bethany Frankel.
Not on camera though, right?
No. This was not on camera. No.
I remember hearing about that Coldplay concert.
This Coldplay concert, Bethany, think this woman was blocking her or talking. She threw a cup of beer at a random woman, and that woman happened to be married to the president of Sirius XM, and she got fired from. She used to have her own radio show on Sirius on Andy Cohen's channel. And
holy shit.
Literally, she was never on Sirius again. And that was at Stevens Talk House in Amagansett. It's an amazing story.
Hey, wow. I should not throw beers.
No.
But in Montauk, I mean, super cliche. I love Surf Lodge. That was like when I first spent a summer out in the Hamptons. Not like, 5, but like when I was like actually in my 30s with disposable income and I could actually rent a summer house. I was just like, this is the best venue in the world. It's chill. I'm in my sandals. We've got incredible music artists playing in the most beautiful, picturesque setting of all time. The drinks are amazing. The people are gorgeous. I mean, Surf Lodge 14, 15, 16 was just like
peak.
Yeah.
So you grew up in New Hampshire. Where did you go to college?
I went to Trinity College in Hartford, Connecticut. So it's a liberal arts school, part of the NESCAC, for anybody in the NESCAC. I applied early, one and done. I thought I was going to be an engineer. It was one of the only liberal arts schools in the entire Northeast with an accredited engineering program.
Uh-huh.
Can you imagine if I was like designing bridges instead of blacking out on television?
So what did you think you were going to do? Like, what did you wanted to be an engineer?
I actually thought I might want to be an architect. And instead of like pigeonhole myself and go to architectural school, I decided to do mechanical engineering, which gave me some of the fundamentals, but allowed me to pivot because I heard architects live a miserable life unless you're like one of like 10 in the world.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't take long for me to realize that engineering was not my calling. And I was running a business throughout college. I was running a painting franchise. So I had at one point 50 to 60 people working for me during the summer.
A painting franchise?
Yeah, like house painting.
Oh, wow.
So when I was 20 years old, I ran a $300,000 business.
Holy shit.
It was like per year. Yeah.
Wow.
So that like wet my whistle when it came to like entrepreneurship.
Uh-huh.
I actually went to business school for the #1 school for entrepreneurship, Babson College.
Where did you go?
It's Babson College. It's
Okay.
right outside of Boston. So they're the #1 school for entrepreneurship in both undergrad and grad for like 20 something years running. So they beat out Stanford, Harvard, MIT.
So how old were you when you completed the MBA?
Let's see. I graduated 2011. So I'm trying to, wow, this Loverboy is affecting my math. What is that? I think I was like 28.
So did you have other, like, were you working for a company between college and the MBA?
Yeah. I worked for so the one thing that I did not do entrepreneurial was work for a massive Fortune 100. I worked for Cigna, massive insurance company.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. And what did you do for them?
I did that in sale. I had a sales job my first year out of undergrad. And I was just like, I do not want to live my life on the golf course. And so I got into tech after business school. At a business school, I started an app that allowed you to make same day reservations at a discount. So basically like, think of like Hotel Tonight, but for restaurants.
Oh.
And
well, isn't that just like Resi or Open Table?
Well, there's no discounts on an Open Table, and this was pre-Resi.
Okay. Wow.
So it'd be like this restaurant. Look, there's like 5 tables available that are otherwise just going to sit there.
Uh-huh.
Why don't they give me a 30% discount?
Does this app still exist?
No, I actually sold it to an Irish tech startup. This was like amid the Daily Deal bubble, and even though I wasn't running like a coupon like app, it just was like there was just so much noise, and I thought I was passionate about it, but I was just like, I think I got caught up in a trend, a startup trend, like a tech trend, and I'm like, what do I give two shits about?
Right.
Like deals and discounts, and like what am I doing? So I sold it and moved on.
How did you get the idea for Loverboy?
Honestly, it's like we're sitting drinking on camera, ridiculous amounts of alcohol, all these brands. I mean, first of all, the alcohol industry is like 20 years behind the rest of like food and beverage. 99.9% of alcohol products don't even have a nutrition panel.
Right.
How the fuck is that even legal? Like, imagine if you go into Whole Foods and you're going to compare 2 different peanut butters, you turn them around, you look at the ingredients. There's none of that in alcohol. So we were drinking ridiculous amounts of Twisted Tea season 1. I found out there were like 30 grams of sugar every 12 ounces. And we were drinking 24-ounce cans. It's like diabetes in a bottle. So, the alcohol industry, just to me, from a startup perspective and an entrepreneur perspective, was like interesting because there's been very little innovation. Additionally, all the brands are old as fuck, or there's no story behind them. Like White Claw is basically the same company as Mike's Hard Lemonade. Truly is the same company as Twisted Tea, is the same company as Sam Adams. Spike Seltzer is owned by Anheuser-Busch, and now it's called Bon and Viv, and who gives a fuck about a mermaid? So it's like all these brands that are so popular. Why should I support a brand that's from a massive conglomerate that doesn't give a shit about me or my health?
So what was your first step? So you come up with the idea. What was the next step you took toward making it a reality?
Yeah, I mean, I basically wanted to combine a healthy hard tea with what people were loving about hard seltzers, which is, oh my God, I can see the label, I can see what's in it, and it's not going to give me gnarly hangovers based on the sugar. And the first step I did going into summer of 2018 was work with Amanda on the brand and the naming and hire a branding agency.
The name Loverboy, brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, it was playful, it was fun. You know, I knew it was an 80s band.
Yeah, working for the weekend.
And I was like, oh, wow, that's their song. I know the song. I didn't know it was sung by Loverboy. And I'm like, that's literally my MO.
Yeah.
So why not put that in a bottle? So yeah, the first step was like, I spent $100,000 of my own money to come up with the initial formula. You know, it's not like a lot of, no offense to some housewives, but they're like, oh my God, I have my own wine. You just put your name on it. Okay. You didn't do shit. I built this from scratch with Amanda, and literally every little intricacy of the company was like completely obsessed with. That summer of 2018, when we filmed season 3, was us building up the brand, getting basically samples in sample products. So what we were drinking on season 3 were actually samples. They were not cans that had been sold. That didn't happen until last summer when we were filming season 4, because it took an entire year for me to go through all the headache of launching an alcohol brand.
Talk to me about the Bravo contract. I mean, I'm sure you're very familiar with the Skinny Girl sale and just how Bethany built Skinny Girl on Real Housewives of New York and the giant success of that. Were you aware of that? I'd love to hear about your awareness of the Skinny Girl success and like how you actually can build $100 million company on the backs of Bravo. And also, first, like, were you aware of that? And then I'm interested to hear like the intricacies of the Bravo contract when it comes to, this is ultimately a Bravo, like, does Bravo own a piece of it?
So in theory, any business that anybody on Bravo starts that becomes successful, Bravo can essentially come after them for like a small little piece. I mean, it's literally based on the fact that Bravo completely missed out on Skinny Girl.
They call it the Bethany clause.
Right. So, I mean, it's no secret Bravo's an incredible platform. I'd heard of Skinny Girl, but none of that was a big focus because I was very much like tech. You know, my background post-business school was like apps and tech, but it wasn't until, I was on the show and I realized just how much influence we had over what people were drinking, because people would ask all the time, what rosé? What's this twisted tea stuff? Why are you drinking hard seltzer? What's Truly? So, who knows what's going to happen with Bravo? I mean, if anything, they have to ask me to tone down the product placement because it's everywhere, because people love they were like, holy shit, everybody's drinking it at this one party. And they're like, I'm like, yeah, it tastes way better than anything else out there. And why not it be my brand than some publicly traded company?
Right on.
Like literally I'm sitting there purposely holding it to the camera sees. I'm like, no, have you ever been to a party? People feel awkward without something in their hand. Oh yeah, good point.
So Amanda officially quit her job.
Yes.
Holy shit. So how did she cut? So, I mean, we saw her like, struggling with the decision, because that's a huge, huge decision. What was the company she worked for?
L'Occitane. It's a French skincare company. A lot of people mispronounce it L'Octane. But yeah, I mean, here's the scoop. I mean, like a lot of things, it gets condensed down and they do the best to their ability to tell the story, but it kind of got glossed over while I was encouraging her to quit. And some of it has to do with the fact that we're not supposed to talk about the show. When you think about it, as we talked about before, like Amanda is one of the only, if only, people that has gone this far on a Bravo show with an actual job where she sits behind a desk, has a boss, legitimate company. And on top of that, when she gets home, I'm asking a lot of her from a creative standpoint to help guide how Loverboy looks, and the messaging and all that stuff. And on top of that, we're supposed to be looking for a wedding venue and trying to plan our wedding. And on top of that, film a TV show.
Right.
4 things, right? Her day job, her night job, wedding, TV show. Last time I checked, 90% of people on Bravo do one of those things.
Right.
Film Bravo.
Right.
I'm being serious. I'm not trying to be a dick, but like,
I hear you.
Name another show where someone has all that going on.
Think somewhere where we might have seen some of this, some of like the pressures caving in on somebody. Erica Jane is a good example because she actually went on tour while she was filming Real Housewives of Beverly Hills last season, and you could see that she was like so checked out. Like she like didn't give a shit about filming the show. But now that she's not on tour, you know, putting on this nightly show and traveling, she's much more chill and in it.
Yeah. It's stressful. I mean, Amanda was tapped out. Yeah.
She somehow like came to the realization.
Look,
okay.
I basically said, look, you've been at your company for 5 years. It's been an incredible experience. When she cried up and teared up at that dinner with our 2 moms, it was actually primarily due to the fact that quitting your job is tough. You've built up friendships, relationships, her boss, who she loved, you know, like and for anybody that's actually quit, it's emotional. It's tough to do. Some people never leave their job because they don't want to quit. And so, again, it's like, how do you condense that down into a summer house minute? You just can't.
So what's the deal? When was your original wedding date?
Yeah, so we had actually settled on a venue, put down a deposit, and then they had an alcohol permit issue that made them uncomfortable filming. So that's why when we went into season 4, and I was pissed at Paige and Hannah, because we had that venue basically fall apart. Mm-hmm. And, you know, they didn't know diddly squat and they didn't seem to care. So I was like, what the fuck? We now have a venue. I can't say the date. I can't say the exact location, but I think the hope would be the tail end of a Summer House season 5.
Okay. Yeah. So I was going to ask you basically with, you know, we don't know if there are going to be any weddings taking place in 2020, period.
Right.
I guess
the reality.
That's the reality. Whether there's a Summer House season or not, none of us may be going to any weddings, period, this year. I guess
without a vaccine, I mean, I was just talking to Stassi and Bo about this. I mean, I think there'll be some, you know, non-essential businesses opening. I think there'll be some restaurants, some bars, you know, carefully experimenting with life with coronavirus, but no vaccine. Does that mean you're inviting your 97-year-old grandmother to your wedding? Unfortunately, it's like, we don't really know what to do. Neither does Stassi and Bo. It's kind of hard to get excited and spend absurd amounts of money when you're like, what? I mean, Amanda, she actually had not settled on a dress when all this started.
Mm-hmm. Oh wow! When the quarantine started.
Yeah, I mean, she did a ton of dress shopping starting last summer, and you know, she got big boobs. It's not easy.
Listen, you can tailor; it can happen.
But she, you know, she's very self-conscious. Like she would very much like. I didn't know this at the time. You know, Stassi had gotten a breast reduction like a month before I met her. No. You know, she's self-conscious about it, so she is very particular with forget the wedding dress, any dress, right? She does not want to put those out there. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen.
I don't know. I mean, how are you guys emotionally? I mean, do you kind of just have to give up the control?
I mean, we sent out our save the dates, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, it's a bizarre feeling. A third of our save the dates are going to addresses people aren't even at due to lockdown.
Were you guys just like FaceTiming with Stassi and Bo? Just like chatting?
Yeah, we didn't. We since she's obsessed with spritzes, I was like, yo, it was like the day of our launch. I was like, I sent her some samples and I was like, this is a perfect excuse to do like an Instagram live. So
Cute.
it was the four of us.
Yeah, I know. I mean, their wedding in Italy. I mean, come on. How on earth can a wedding in Italy happen in October?
I mean, look, it is a ways away, but without a vaccine, I just don't even know what the world's gonna look
Right.
like. There's not going to be like a block party announcing the pandemic's over.
Right.
It's going to be this
Right.
slow return back to whatever the hell normal it is. So I don't know what that means for our wedding. I don't know what it means for theirs. I don't know what it means for air travel. I don't know what it means for shit. It's just a bizarre situation.
Where on earth did Jules come from?
So Jules and Jordan met at a photo shoot. So that part's completely true. As
in New York or Chicago?
Actually, I think it was Chicago.
Okay.
So Jules was like visiting in New York, met Hannah. You know, Jordan, I think all of us, including probably the producers, were like, I'm not sure if we want him back. You know, he's a great guy, but it's just impossible to get a straight answer. And guess what doesn't work well for reality television? When people lie.
Yeah.
Because you're like,
I mean,
come on.
All things considered, I mean, listen, why can't he just say that he's gay? Is this because he comes from a very conservative Southern family? Like, it's very weird.
Case, I honestly think that, not even focusing on sexuality, I think that there's a little bit of lack of self-awareness, and he's whether he knows this or not, I think he's a little lost. I love the guy. He's got a big heart, but it was, oh God, so many moments where I'm like, dude, this is not the place to be doing some soul searching. You know what I mean? Like, if you're going to lie through season 3, you're going to.
But meanwhile, he was heavily featured this season.
Well, because it was just, some of his moments were just so out of this world.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know.
So he and Jules met at a photo shoot.
They'd hooked up, but then he bragged about it as if like he had to prove that he had sex with her. So I was just like, okay, I'm skeptical, very skeptical. And then Jules comes in to the house because Hannah invited her. We basically had an open spot. Jordan was just like, oh, I'm too busy modeling. Who the fuck knows what that means? And, you know, they had this like weird little like, oh, we don't talk. Oh, now we're staying in the same bedroom. Oh, now Jordan's in the living room and they hate each other again. Like, by my birthday, I was just like, I don't give two shits. This relationship feels fake.
But the question is, how did Jules get cast on this show?
I think, look, she's an interesting girl. She's got, she's on the younger side, obviously. You know, we're always trying to bring in new people. And Hannah was like, hey, why doesn't Jules actually audition? I don't know the ins and outs. I just go with the flow.
I mean, and where did they find Luke?
I knew Luke through like a couple of mutual friends.
Oh, okay. Carl had said in our interview that neither Jules or Luke had even been to the Hamptons before.
Yeah, but neither had
Hannah,
Steven, other than like a work event. Neither. I mean, it's not that uncommon. Like, we've dealt with that before, you know. It's you don't need to be like, oh, you haven't summered before.
Speaking of summering, have you ever run into a Ramona or Luann, the Countess, or even His Holiness Andy Cohen? Have you run into them
out there? I've never run into Andy. That would make my day. I think he's the bomb. But so we have run into some housewives. Here's the thing: I don't know who's who. I just don't. You know, I hardly have any time for television, and if I watch television, it's like Ozarks or Westworld or you know, something where I'm like, you know, take me out of this world. So I remember one time I was doing like the holiday special at Watch What Happens Live, and I was like a doorbell guest with like 12 other people, and I sent a text of the 12 people I was with because I didn't know anybody. I mean, I was like, oh my God, you're with Kim from Atlanta? I'm like, is Amanda a Big Housewives fan? I mean, like the average chick, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know, like the biggest, but she's a fan. Like,
I mean, I'm sure you've run into Ramona. You would know Ramona.
Actually, you know who I've run into a couple times with Sonja? I mispronounced her name in real life. I called her Sonja.
Where did you run into Sonja?
I was meeting Carl and a buddy at the Arlo Hotel. I'm trying to find the elevator, and I bump into Sonja because she had like a pop-up for her clothing brand or whatever the heck brand in the lobby.
Okay.
And then she like kind of recognized me, but I don't know. And then we started talking, and then it was like an hour later, we're like drunk getting like her assistants handing us drinks because she's like, get another one. She's like, do you understand that house? What's her famous saying with the letters of her name? The House of Morgan or something like that?
The Morgan letters?
Thank you.
The Morgan letters. So wait, what did she say?
Look, we were both little three sheets to the wind, but
you can't recall right now.
She was just talking about the Morgan letters, and
that's amazing.
Her daughter had just gotten into an incredibly awesome school, and she was telling me how she did it all on her own. And it was just like a funny little like random run-in.
Yeah.
That was like that was probably my biggest housewife run-in, which was like hysterical.
That's a good one. Sonja Morgan. That's a classic. Yeah. That's a classic.
It was like an hour. Like I was like, by the time I got to the roof, Carl and my buddy were gone. I'm like, well, okay.
In the future, I personally wish they would show just a little more of what you guys are up to in those little city interstitials, during the week. Like I could use like a solid 3 to 5 minutes of the city in each episode.
I agree. But some people, it's like, I think it's a debated topic, right? Because as much as I love that part of our show where it's like we are working professionals, we have careers. My claim to fame is I'm the only guy on Bravo with an MBA. I literally went to grad school. What I do for a living is very important to me. And I would love to show that part. But I think the reason why it gets cut down so much is because how interesting is it to the average viewer? I don't know. Like you're in New York, you get it. You're like, oh my God, I love the hustle. Most people are like, let's get back to the party.
Right. So to recap, let's go over one more time what our possibilities are to get you guys filming a season 5 this summer.
I think that the worst case scenario is we'd be filming Summer House like Big Brother style. Like where we, restaurants and bars were not in the cards, either because they're still closed or because the network just can't get comfortable with the liability. The in-between would be social distancing, nightlife, not as we know it, which quite frankly, I think is probably the likely outcome, right? Mm-hmm. Like bars operating at like 50% capacity. And then of course we've rode this out. We're still life without a vaccine, but everyone's doing everything possible to take precautions. So I think that like I said, extreme scenario, Big Brother, somewhere in the middle, not quite life as we know it, but I think that's what we're going to be dealing with this summer is probably the rest of what America's going to be dealing, depending on your state. And then the best case scenario would just be like in a couple of months, we actually return back to the new normal, whatever the hell that is. If we all worked from the Hamptons, we could probably film the same show in a slightly smaller time span. Mm-hmm. So if we can't start until July 4th or mid-July, I still think we'd be able to create an amazing show just by spending more time together. So who knows?
Is she very happy now that she has the freedom?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much freedom comes with Loverboy because we just launched a completely new product. So it's almost like we're running two like businesses. We have our sparkling hard teas, which are sold like traditional alcohol, in bars, restaurants, but also retailers. And then we just launched our spritz product, which is a cocktail in a can sold online. And it's like we literally decided to take on twice the workload. We're like, no, let's not just.
So how can people get that? If they want to try the spritz, how can they try that?
Oh my God. Yeah. 41 states can buy it online now.
What's the website?
So go to drinkloverboy.com and you'll be looking right at a spritz can.
Beautiful.
And it is a premium product. It's basically, look, kind of like our teas. I looked at the average cocktail and I was like, absurd amounts of sugar are in cocktails. I love Aperol Spritz. Guess how many grams of sugar are in an Aperol Spritz?
I would guess 20.
25 to 35.
Wow.
Between 300 and 400 calories. Because you add in the Prosecco, and you better believe there's a big pour because you're paying $16 at the bar. And I was like, wow, now I know why I have a gnarly hangover, just like Twisted Teas. So anyway, the Spritz is basically the best. It's like someone just made you an $18 cocktail, but it's in a can. It's ready to go. It's ready to drink. And so because of the quirky alcohol laws, we technically are using a wine base. We can sell it online. It's very expensive to do so, but we can sell it direct. So you can go to our website, drinkloverboy.com, and buy Spritz.
Got it.
So it's like the Loverboy Sparkling Hard Tea is like a premium hard seltzer. The Spritz is basically like a one-of-a-kind cocktail in a can. And instead of the 20 to 30 or more grams of sugar in an Aperol Spritz, there's 2.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. So
you didn't give the comparison. That's amazing, too.
Yeah, I'm
Holy
like,
shit.
It's been a long day.
Whoa.
Been drinking some Loverboys.
That's very impressive.
It's only like 5 to 10% of the sugar, and it tastes.
Kyle, this has been a delight chatting with you.
I'm such a rambler.
No,
I wrote
it's
a
good.
17-page email.
What'd you say?
Now you know how I wrote a 17-page email.
So tell everyone, so we know drinkloverboy.com, and they can get both products there. They're at Whole Foods. I've seen Loverboy at Whole Foods right here.
So that's drinkloverboy.com. My handle is I'm Kyle Cooke.
You guys can find me, JessXNYC, and be sure to follow Hot Takes Deep Dives on Insta to stay up to date with all the new shows and episodes that are coming out. And Kyle and I will see you soon.
I hope so.
We hope to see you there summer 2021.
Unleashing caged animals. That'll be season 5, I hope.
So fun chatting with you.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
Have a great night.
You too. Take care.
Bye.